But guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into tonight's show, and let's talk about Clemson football, because let's face it, that's what everybody here in the comment section's here for, and that's what us three have been trying to get together to do for the longest time. So let's spend majority of our time chopping it up about the thing that we're here to talk about, and that is Clemson football. First and foremost, I kind of want to lay the groundwork for us and just kind of get our thoughts on, this offseason. Look, us as Clemson fans, let's be honest, it's been a rough 3 seasons, okay? Clemson has clearly taken a step back for 3 seasons in a row. Some of that is due to maybe coaching staff. Some of that is due to injuries. Some of that is due to some talent maybe not working out for the Tigers. There's a myriad of reasons for Clemson's regression as far as a prominent football program, right? But a lot of good things have happened in Clemson football recently. We have recently added Garrett Riley to as an offensive coordinator. We've recently added Matt Luke as an offensive line coach, Chris Rump as a defensive end coach. So a lot of good coaching hires, I think, in the recent future have happened. And I think we've acquired some talent that have filled some gaps that may have been there before. So one of the things that I want to start off with, and you guys can kind of take this wherever you will, questions for Clemson football heading into the 2024 season as we sit right now. Camp just ended today. The last camp practice happened. They start Georgia prep on Sunday. So, the season's pretty much here, fellas. So what are your big questions for Clemson football heading into the 2024 season?
Well, I'm going to tee up Brian here, because I'm going to ask a very specific question. And I'm going to tee up the both of you here, because you just kind of went through it. The offseason has been honestly a lot of positive, at least from a vibes and feelings standpoint. So my real question is, are we buying it? Because we've been burned pretty bad as a fan base for the past few years. We've heard good things about the offense. Oh man, whether it was DJ or Cade, it's like, oh man, he looks so much more improved. The receivers we're getting more explosive. The offensive line, we're deeper, and we've got 10 scholarship guys that we feel like can play, on Saturday. So are we buying it? I think that's the real question.
I can't remember which state has the slogan "Show me," the "Show me" state, and that's where I'm at with the Clemson offense. Over the past few years, let's be honest with ourselves, that if we did not have the defensive play across the board, the defensive coaching, we would be in trouble. Even now, we're having a problem kicking. I read a little earlier that Hauser is a little out in front of Gunn, which kind of makes me sick on my stomach that we don't have a definite, clear-cut kicker. Yeah. So here we are. But it doesn't make you a bad Clemson fan to be jaded over the past 3 years, 10-3, 10-3, 9-4, the debacle last year. And going into last year's game with Duke, even on my channel, I said, hey, they've got a fantastic quarterback. Mike Elko can coach. And we need to be careful going into that game. But 28-7, tons of turnovers, a lack of playability and execution. None of us would have ever dreamt that was going to happen. So it's not bad for us to look at this game with the front runner for the national championship. You may hate Georgia like a root canal, but the truth is, right now, Georgia is the front runner for the national championship. Kirby's doing something different down there, and they are where we were, right? We, like Gene said earlier, we declined. We have declined, and that's hard to say because even at a decline, we're still 9 wins, 10 wins. There's so many teams in the country that would kill for that. But I think guys like us who eat, sleep, breathe Clemson football, heck, I grew up literally right there at Clemson. I remember the Danny Ford days, the Hatfield days, the Tommy West days, the Tommy Bowden days, obviously. Now, I remember it. And it's much more than just a team I pulled for or a school that I went to. It's a community that I was raised in. So anytime that you question whether a team that you dearly love is as good as they once were, obviously it's going to stir emotions. And I see that all the time. But it is not wrong for us logically, let's just say we take the Tiger Paw. Let's just take it out of it. Let's just look at a team who had success and then look at the past 3 seasons, what's transpired. It is not wrong for someone to use their common sense or logic and say, hey, I'm not going to be burned this season. So there's good things for us to look forward to in this year, but there's a lot of show me on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Brian, look, I think you make a lot of good points. And I think any logical and any Clemson fan that's being honest with themselves agree with a lot of not only what you just said here, but a lot of what you say on your channel. Sometimes as fans, it's hard to hear, and we don't like to hear it, especially about our favorite team, because let's face it, what's fans short for? Fanatic,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
We are very emotional about the Clemson Tigers, especially guys like us that grew up. I came home from the hospital literally in a Clemson outfit, right? Like that's how deep it runs in my family, right? Like this was an at birth thing. I didn't get a choice, right? It was Clemson Tigers my entire life, right? And going to the stadium with my dad, and all those memories that you have, right? And you got deep-seated emotions when it comes to the Tigers, right? But as fans, we have to be honest with ourselves as well, right? So I think one of the things that me and Jordan, if you've been listening to our channel all off season, is, we acknowledge the growth that Clemson has gone through this offseason, right? Some of the positive changes that have happened within the program from a coaching staff standpoint, and then from a recruiting standpoint as well, bringing in some young talent. You think of a TJ Moore, you think of a Brian Westco, you think of an Antonio Williams coming off a year of injury. There's several things that you can point to with this Clemson team that would give you reasons to be optimistic about the season. But what me and Jordan have kind of touted on this channel all offseason is cautious optimism. And that's kind of the approach that I've taken all offseason with the Tigers. I see, and it's hard, right? Because I am so emotionally invested in the Tigers, and I want them to get back to national prominence like we were. And I see some signs that those things could happen. So it's hard not to dive into the deep end. But because of the last 3 seasons, and because, like Jordan mentioned, we've been fooled before, right? I am staying with the cautious optimism. I like some of the things that I'm hearing. I don't like everything I'm hearing. Let's face it. It's not all sunshines and roses. It's not all good. But I like a lot of the stuff that I'm hearing, and it seems that the tide is turning. However, just like you said, Brian, it's a show me. You got to prove it on the field. Cade Klubnik has reportedly had a great fall camp. He's got to prove it on the field. Guess what? It don't matter what you do in fall camp. Come August 31st, when Georgia Bulldogs are standing across from you and the ball's about to be kicked off, no one cares how many passes you completed in camp. No one cares about how many summer sessions you did with your wide receivers and how much chemistry you guys built up. It's about what you do on the field at that point. And that's where a lot of Clemson fans are, and I think that's where all 3 of us are, is we are at a show-me point right now, especially when it comes to the Clemson offense. The Clemson defense, they can get the benefit of the doubt. And there's some questions along our defense, and we'll probably get into that within the show tonight, but they get the benefit of the doubt for me because of their proven success, right? The offense, not so much. It's kind of a show me, and that's kind of where I'm at. And, a lot of it is it looks good, but again, we'll see what happens when the ball's kicked off and the snaps are live and you're going against the number 1 team in the country.